We're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes that brand new game developers make coming up. What's up, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and before we get started, if you're new here, I want you to consider subscribing because we post daily game development content and videos just like this one. And while you're watching, why don't you go ahead and list your major mistake down below, because we all make different mistakes and we want to learn from each other, right? So let's get started. Mistake number 1 is starting with the masterpiece. Starting with the masterpiece is something that I definitely did. I wanted to make this big, epic, huge game. And as a matter of fact, I have a whole video about this topic because it's so incredibly important. When most game developers start, they get inspired by a AAA game like Halo or like Call of Duty or like one of the major games out there. And the first thing that they want to do is they want to make this big, epic, huge, massive game that probably is nearly impossible for most new game developers to make. It's one of those things that like you don't want to do, because if you start a project too massive, you can get really overwhelmed. You can spend 6 months or a year or more working on this stuff and get nowhere with it. And then you quit and you get discouraged, and then you don't ever want to touch game development again. It's better to start from the opposite end, because your masterpiece doesn't have to be your first game. It could be game number 5 or game number 10. Mistake number 2, recruiting uninterested friends as teammates. So when we get into game development, at least for me anyway, like first thing I did is I wanted all my friends to like make games with me, right? It was super exciting. Like, hey, let's go make video games. It's going to be awesome. And when I was in high school, I actually recruited a bunch of different people. I recruited one of my friends to be a writer. I recruited one of my friends to draw stuff and be an artist. And like, this was my dream. And yeah, they were going along with it, and yeah, they were helping out, but they didn't have the same passion I did. And I ended up getting frustrated, especially with my writer friend, because I was like, no, dude, you got to write about this epic thing that takes place 500 years in the future. And like this happens and this happens. He wasn't getting it. And I could just tell he just didn't care. It was exciting at first, but like ultimately ended up holding me back. So it's something you should definitely take into consideration, and maybe find new game development friends. Like if you're in school still, go to some game development clubs or meetups. You know, meetup.com is a great place to meet new people. You can go to conferences or conventions and stuff like that. You can meet people, and you can go in Game Dev Underground. We have a Discord link in the description down below that has thousands of game developers from all over the globe. So maybe you can team up with one of them. Mistake number 3, thinking your idea matters. Now, hold up before you say, yo, Tim, my idea matters. My idea is $1 million idea, $1 million idea. I know all that. Okay, I get it. We all love our ideas. We all think our ideas are going to be the ones that make $1 million. But here's what matters more. The execution matters more. And if you pick up any startup book, any technology book from the last 10 years, you'll see that that's a common trend. Everybody is starting to realize that ideas are not the thing that make the thing work. If I tell you to make me a game about a dude that runs and jumps, right? You could make me Mario. You could make me Crash Bandicoot. You could make me like any sort of game ever. As you can see, those are all run and jump platformer games, but they all have different execution. That's why the execution matters over the idea, because the way that it's made and the ability to get it made is so much more important than the actual idea itself. Mistake number 4, expecting to get rich quick. Getting rich quick is like one of those things that like is laughed about on the internet, because like you can Google get rich quick and you'll find 1,000 things that teach you how to get rich quick by selling other people things that teach them how to get rich quick. And it's just there. People just do it. But no one gets rich quick. You hear about all these founders, right? You hear about Notch, who sold his company for $4 billion to Microsoft. Instagram got sold to Facebook. You hear about all these things and you hear these high numbers and you're like, oh, I can get rich quick. All I got to do is make an app or a game. But that's not how it works, because what you're not seeing is all the work and all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that game or that app or that software for years before you even knew it existed. All of the experience the founder had working with other companies, there's usually massive failures before all that stuff. Like, you really got to do research before you really understand what someone went through. Like, people say, oh, Super Meat Boy was such a success. Edmund's a genius. Yeah, he also made 40 some games before Super Meat Boy. Like, he had honed his craft. He knew what he was doing. Getting rich quick does not happen. It just doesn't happen. And if you're looking to get rich quick, this is not the video for you, because you're just not going to be teachable. You can get rich slow, that's the path I think you should take, and you should start with actually making a game first and seeing how that goes. Mistake number 5, being afraid of what ifs. We all like to say, what if this happened or what if that happened? And it's fun, little exercise, right? We can talk to our friends, we can brainstorm that way. But a lot of times what we end up doing is we end up saying like, what if I make $1 million? Or what if I get rich quick, or what if this takes off? And it does one of two things. Either it improperly sets your expectations, because like, holy shit, you're expecting to make $1 million off of this game. When you make 4, you're going to be really disappointed. Or 2, it can scare the hell out of you. And I know with me, like whenever I would start a project, especially when I started companies, I would be like, oh, but what if like 1,000 people sign up and then I can't keep up with them and then I'll look stupid, and it added all this anxiety. And a lot of times I never even ended up finishing the thing. That is not good from either perspective. Like, you want to make sure that you have proper expectations. You want to make sure that you are grounding yourself in reality and that you're really sticking to the thing that works, but also you're doing the stuff that you know is going to make a difference. Like, don't worry about what ifs. Worry about making decisions in the moment. Those are the things that are important. Taking one step forward today, moving forward towards your milestone or your deadline. Those are the important things that actually get your project moving. What ifs don't matter, and they just add anxiety and they improperly set expectations. Mistake number 6, spending too much money. So when I got started on like YouTube, the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to buy the camera, the microphone, all the software, all the stuff. I wanted to do everything, right? That's what I wanted to do. When I got started in game development, I thought I needed a PC. I thought I needed this ergonomic keyboard and this massive chair and this $100 mouse. And really what I needed was a laptop and an internet connection. So straight up, spending too much money is one of those things that like doesn't get you anywhere. It's a false indicator of progress. It's not real progress. And it tricks your brain into thinking that it's real progress. If you go on Amazon.com and you click buy something, you go, oh yeah, I made some progress. But you didn't make progress, really. You didn't do anything. You just clicked buy now and you spent a bunch of money, and there was no point in that. I'm not saying spending money is bad. I'm just saying spending too much money is unnecessary to get started, when really what you should be doing is starting. Conversely, number 7, I can't math. Mistake number 7 is not spending enough money, because spending too much money is bad, but not spending money when you could like save yourself a ton of time is super important too. If a few assets from the asset store, or buying some graphic enhancements or some UI stuff that you don't want to do, that you could spend 2 weeks building and not be as good as something you could buy for $5, why wouldn't you spend the $5? If you're going to build an FPS, why would you spend like months trying to build FPS code when you could just buy some FPS code off the asset store? Sometimes spending a little bit of money, whether it's a book, whether it's some resources or whatever, sometimes spending just a little bit of money can save you a bunch of time. And sometimes it's really worth it. And I know myself included, before I went all crazy spending stuff, before I had money, I was super, super stingy. I didn't want to spend any of my money on anything. And that was not a good way to go, because ultimately it inhibited my progress. It stopped me from moving forward. It didn't allow me to excel at the rate I needed to excel. Mistake number 8, thinking you need funding to get started. So this goes along with money, but basically a lot of people are waiting for some kind of investment. They're waiting for their tax return. They're waiting for that amount of cash, or that investor to come along, or that person to come along and work with them. They're waiting for something that's some sort of investment, whether it's physical or monetary or whatever. They're waiting for that investment to start. And they shouldn't be waiting for investment to start. Any kind of funding for your project is not necessary. There are no hard costs associated with game development. If you have a computer and you have an internet connection, matter of fact, even if you have a device, a tablet, and you have an internet connection, which I assume you do because you're watching this video, this is impossible to watch without a device and an internet connection, you can start making games. You can make games on Android devices, you can make games on Linux devices, you can PC, Mac. There's no excuse. You do not need funding to get started. You just have to get started. Which leads me to number 9, waiting until you're ready to start. People think they're not ready. They say, oh, next month I'll be ready. Or I just have to read these 10,000 articles. Or I just have to read these 20,000 books. I just have to do this. I just have to spend 4 years in college and then I'll be ready. You'll never be ready, yo. You'll never be ready. I still don't feel ready. And I've been making games for years, okay? You will never, ever, 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 ever be ready. Don't think that you have to wait till you're ready, because if you wait till you're ready, you will never start. Straight up, you will never ever start. I can't stress that enough. Like, so many people wait until the stars align, or till they meet somebody, or till they go to GDC, or till next month, or till they finish college. Like, no, start now. If you wait until after you finish college to start making games, you're going to be in for a bad surprise. Nobody's going to hire you. You're going to have no experience. You think a degree is going to matter. It's not. Your portfolio is going to matter. The stuff that you have done is going to matter. And those are the things that you want to work on now. You want to get started so that you can learn, so that you can improve, so that you can make the epic game that you want to make. And number 10, the biggest mistake that you can ever make as a game developer is not getting started. I thought I wanted to make games for years, and it took me way longer than it should have to actually get started. And beyond that, I actually quit after I started a little bit, and I didn't start again for 10 years. It took me 10 years to get back into game development, a ridiculous amount of time that I would never wish on anybody, because game development was what I wanted to do, and I let other things in life stop me. I didn't get started. I should have got started way earlier, and I never should have stopped. If you're a game developer or you want to be a game developer, the best thing you can do right now is start. If you don't know where to start, join our Discord. Ask. There are thousands of game developers ready to help you do whatever you want to do. And straight up, it's easier than you think it is. I know it sounds intimidating. I know starting is crazy and it sounds scary and all that. I was there. I've been there. Trust me, we're here to help. I want to encourage as many people as I can to make games because it was my passion, and I wish more people would make games because there'd be more great indie games in the world, and there should be more games. So straight up, if you haven't started, start now. Like, what do you got to lose, really? Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to point at you and laugh. Nobody's going to care. Just make games if that's what you want to do. Seriously. That's it for the top 10 mistakes that new game developers make. If you like content like this, hit me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you want more content like this and even more in-depth, more greater detail, I have a program called Underground Elite, which the link is down in the description, where I post stuff like this weekly for members of the Underground Elite. So I recommend you check that out. But thank you very much for watching this video. Once again, my name is Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.